Now, I was an MP for 24 years, and I cannot remember how many bills or laws we passed, which are all to do with housing, homelessness, solving the problems which politicians think they can solve by making speeches and passing laws. But there's a piece of wisdom from Dr. Samuel Johnson, who in a verse of poetry of his wrote, "Of all the ills that human hearts endure, how small the parts that rules and laws can cure." Absolutely right. And so MPs or politicians, even when they're doing good things, and I remember the days when I was a cabinet minister, how proud the John Major government was of doing quite a lot in terms of legislation to prevent street homelessness, and did some good things, but didn't cure the problem. The problem will always be with us because it's so individual, so personal. One aspect of Jesus isn't commented enough upon was his own homelessness. I mean, after all, he was born in a borrowed manger, he was buried in a borrowed tomb, and in between, as far as we can tell, he lived a very peripatetic life, staying in other people's houses, never seemed to have a base. And indeed, at one moment, he said rather poignantly, "Foxes have holes, birds have their nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." And it's people who have nowhere to lay their heads who you cater for, and you cater for them superbly well. And I think this practical union between churches and the charity doing the practical nitty-gritty of buying houses, getting the housing benefit, I think it is a wonderful model, and one which is hugely to be praised. The state doesn't do this kind of thing well because it's so personal, so difficult. And then even when there is a sort of machinery for guiding someone to a hostel, then you come to a different problem, which is governments really, for all they say, they don't have hearts. They can sometimes do the machinery bit, but they can't do what the other side of your equation does, which is to have people, in your case, church people, who act as friends, mentors, listeners. There's a wonderful story in the Gospels of Jesus healing 10 men with leprosy. And after he's done that, one of them comes back and says thank you to Jesus. And he's a Samaritan, as it happens, he's the outcast. And Jesus says, where are the other 9? Anyway, this Samaritan's come back, and then he says very oddly to the Samaritan, "Go on thy way, thy faith hath made thee." And now we come to a translation point, some technicality, but the New International Version of the Bible, which probably the most popular, misses it, says, "Thy faith hath made thee well." And now, it's an odd translation, because not that well anyway, they've all been healed of leprosy. But some versions of the Bible, particularly the authorized version of King James, says, "Go on thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole." Last night I was actually in a City of London church celebrating the life of John Newton, who is most famous for writing Amazing Grace. And it was a wonderful evening, and made everybody concentrate on what grace is, what it's about, and why it's so important. And the longer I live, I think it's perhaps the most vital key, and I'm here making a keynote speech, key to the Christian life, to the good life, to the life of others. And grace is a word with a stoop in it. It means, especially with those who are suffering, whether it's homeless or anything, sort of coming down to their level and helping them up. It's a wonderful thing, and John Newton wrote this marvelous hymn, which you all know, Amazing Grace. But in the end, this is what God is about, this is what the Christian life is about, and it's clearly what Hope in Action is about, because it's not only practically solving the problem, but also extending grace to those who really need it, who come into their orbit.